I had him as a gym teacher, but I came to Penncrest in 10th grade. It was the merger of Springton Lake and Indian Lane. We all came here in 10th grade. But I had known about him from guys that I played basketball with in the boys club, or we had heard stories about this guy, Daddy K.
They simply didn't want to disappoint him. It was that simple.
You feel empowered by on an individual level, and you can make a difference. And he's done it for so long and affected so many people's lives, and it's just it's been a blessing to be able to be a part of it.
He is what everybody would want as a community leader, a teacher, a father, a friend. He's loyal, but he expects the best out of his students, his community, and if the world had more Bill Kaufmans, we'd be in a lot better place.
Bill treated everyone like they were his kids. Not just the kids in the district, but also the teachers.
Bill's a family man to the nth degree. Bill's so proud of his family.
High school's a tough time for everybody. Growing up, you're trying to find yourself, and you're unsure of yourself, and you're trying to prove yourself athletically, academically. And he was always the one that seemed to have this keen sense of being able to recognize maybe if you didn't have the best game, or it seemed like he always had this sixth sense of knowing when you needed a pick-me-up the most. And he had a way of that relatability, which I described, to be able to, he had that cachet with you built up, and he could address you, and you wanted to work hard for him. You wanted to prove to him that you were worthy of, of his attention and what he was extending to you. So, I would say that, over the years, that motivation from him being a shining light and an example was something that was really valuable to me and motivated me to be a better person, a better athlete, and certainly carried me through my years here at Penncrest.
If somebody in the district did something that was good or impressive, you'd get a note from Bill Kaufman. Just a little note telling you how proud he was of you. And it was like, wow, that's unbelievable.
He impacts me today. He impacts me through his teachings, the way he treats people. I think that Coach Kaufman embodies treating people the way that you want to be treated. And that's something I try to live by. As I get older, you learn that it's much more important. And, just being honest, being fair. Coach always took the 12th player and made them as important as the best player. So, having the backs of your teammates or your coworkers, if you, put it into daily life, you're always caring for the other person and making sure they were okay. I don't think that always works with 14, 15, 16-year-olds. As I grew older and had a son, and now I'm trying to teach him certain values, I find myself, always your parents, are first come to mind, but Coach is like a second father. And you want to live up to his expectations. You don't want to let him down.
He got here in '56 when it opened, and he still's doing the scores table at my son's basketball games. It's amazing. I hope I have half the energy that he does when I'm 70, and to have that at 90 is it's really great.
For me, it was a dream come true. It's what I wanted to do. So I went into service in January '54, and got out in January '56. Got out on a Friday. I think it was the 11th, if I remember right. Started teaching that Monday. Mr. Mass, J. Earl Mass, was our first superintendent of the Rose Tree Media School District. And when I was a student at Lima School, when I was in 8th grade, he asked me what I wanted to do. And I said, I want to be a teacher. And he said, Billy, he called me Billy, I'll have a position for you if you become a teacher. So since I couldn't get out of the service at the start of the school year, he kept a position open at Rose Tree School. He hired a full-time sub. So when I got out on that Friday, I took over and I taught the rest of the year at Rose Tree and Sandy Bank. And then that September, we opened up Penncrest. And when we opened here at Penncrest, the building was not completed. We had one wing with 2 floors. We came in, a group of teachers came in over Labor Day weekend, put desks together, got all the books and stuff together. So when we opened up, the gymnasium was not finished at that time. Cafeteria was not completely finished. The bell system did not work. So the kids would have to go down to the cafeteria. They could pick up milk and a sandwich if they like, or bring their own. Then go back to their classroom and eat their lunch in the classroom. And we had, as I said, the gymnasium was not completed, so the kids could not change or things like that. So that was tough for a while. We had to take them out to the parking lot and do whatever we could out there. So without the bell system, this is unbelievable. Our music teacher, one of our music teachers, would come up into the hallway with his trumpet and blow his trumpet. That let the kids know that the period was over, and that's how they moved around. I forget how long that lasted. But now, when we started at Penncrest, we did not have an 11th or a 12th grade. We were only up to 10th grade, so we were in 7 through 10. So I taught health and physical education. I coached football, basketball, and baseball here at Penncrest. I was also the junior high athletic director here at Penncrest. Mr. Scott, Lou Scott, one of our principals, was the senior athletic director, the high school athletic director. When we came here, Mr. Scott and I went out to the football field and looked at the football field, and all there was 2 goalposts at either end and a field. No markings, nothing. There was a cinder track around it. And I tell this story, it's a true story. He and I came up on a weekend. We got string and we strung the whole field, put the strings down for the markers of a 5-yard line, 10, so forth. We had those all down. Mr. Scott brought out his gym class, had them line up along the lines, pull the grass out. That's true. Pulled the grass out, and then he and I took the limers and we lined the field. That's what we did to that. When we went into the gymnasium and for the first time, the ceiling looked very low, and they used to have the lights that come out like they were on like ball bearings or something. Okay, not a line on the field, just 2 baskets. So Kenny Clay, who was the head of the industrial arts department, Lou Scott, my dad, who was a carpenter, myself came up, and they all plumbed. They plumbed Kenny Clay. My dad plumbed the floor, and we got tape, red tape. I can still remember. And we taped the field, the floor, taped the circle and everything. We did it, not custodians or anybody else, but it was very, very interesting. I don't know whether we could handle that today that way, but we got by, and then as we gradually got more children in, we had to go have sessions for a while, and that was tough too. So the senior high came in the morning session, and the junior high came in the afternoon from I think it was 12 to 5. So sometimes I taught both sessions. So, and plus that I coached. Plus that I was going to college for my graduate stuff, master's. So, but you did it. It was something I loved and did, and just to be around kids was a wonderful thing for me. Sometimes I would coach from like the junior high kids would come in around noontime or before noon, 11 o'clock or what I could, and I coached them in the morning. Then the senior highs would have practice in the afternoon. So sometimes I had to share my gym class with all the sports teams. And I had one, I can still remember, I had one gym class that had close to 70 kids in it, 77th grade kids, if you could imagine that. And there used to be a stage, part of the gym, the upper end of the old gym, there was a stage. So I used to have to get up on the stage so I could see all the kids. They'd have put 70 kids in the locker room, or 60, I forget the number, plus football, soccer, whatever else. I don't know how we did it, but we did it. We got by.
I would say at that time, we tried to do the best we could do. And it made it possible, I would say, because of the kids. There were certain kind of kids. I came from up in New Jersey, from a school in New Jersey that was just opening, Ridgefield. And the difference in the children was amazing. I mean, one was almost like, even back then, way back then, holding fort, you know. You could get across what you wanted, but just about. And when I came to Penncrest, I was amazed that you really could teach.
Mr. Scott and I had one gym class together. It was a 10th grade class. And our principal at the time, Henry Hoffman, thought it would be a good idea to put them all together. So he and I had a class, I think it was close to 150 some boys with no gym. So we did a lot of left face and right face and marching. I don't know, I don't know, as I think back, how did we do it? But we did it.
Isn't it wonderful that they could do that? And they became part of history, really. But I'm sure it would have been looked at differently. It was much easier teaching when I was teaching and Bill was teaching. We were sort of looked at as someone.
We were such a community school that, especially if you taught and you coached, you knew everyone. I mean, you just absolutely knew everyone, and you just didn't know a little bit about them. You actually knew who they were as people.
When I went here, we went to school with our classmates whose parents were the teachers and educators. Mr. Scott's daughter was in my class. Coach Kaufman's daughters were interspersed. I could go through, the superintendent's children went here. So, you know, when you were walking around media on a Saturday or Sunday, or you were calling your friend's house you had to actually dial the phone and someone answered, you sometimes get your teacher or your principal on the line answering the phone. So it was a community type atmosphere where I would say most of us respected our teachers and our leaders, and even when you were not on school time, you were still part of the Mercy Media School District community because you're in their houses. You were playing with their sons or daughters. So I've always referred to it, at least for me, and I don't think it applies to everybody, but it was really an amazing time of great people and a sense of community that we don't have now.
I moved down to Indian Lane Junior High School, another brand new school. And when I went to Indian Lane, it was the same way, brand new school. And we've been blessed in the Rose Tree Media School District. I got to make this, we had great staff, great administrators, and most wonderful parents and kids, as you can imagine. So supportive. And I taught at Indian Lane from 1960 to 1980. Then I returned up here at Penncrest. and became the athletic director here at Penncrest until I retired in '85. And taught physical education, department chair. I was department chair in the Rose Tree Media School District from 1958, I guess, until I retired in '85. And so my whole life basically has been involved in the Rose Tree Media School District.
Bill, as I mentioned, was a master teacher and that the kids loved him. He was very, very strict. Things had to be done his way.
That was one of his prime things, to foster and educate the people about physical education. He would correct professionals at the state meet or anywhere if they said gym or phys ed. He said, no, it's physical education for the young people. We're teaching young people how to live better, how to live longer, and do all the things that they should, and be not intimidated but proud on their accomplishments. We also wanted to say, he always would say, and I wanted to be considerate of everybody. The physical education booklet we have is this big on curriculum. Temple, he took it down and showed them at Temple. They wanted to see it. They heard about it. And they said it's the best book on curriculum for high school they've ever seen. And everyone then wanted a copy of it.
We finished it and we were so proud of it. We were invited up to Temple University to show it to the head of phys ed up there. And I don't know if he told you this story, but we went up so proud. We started reviewing the curriculum guide, and the head of the department up there fell asleep while we were presenting.
But Bill was an educator, and we had a great physical education staff, and he didn't run us, he guided us. And that's Bill's secret.
When I came up in 1980, when I brought the 9th grade in, that was a big thing too, because now you had another group of sport teams that had to have practice. So we had to go down to Indian Lane to practice down there. The basketball, basketball would go down there, baseball, 9th grade baseball, practice down there. And that was all my responsibility, because when I came here as athletic director in 1980, I didn't have anybody. I had no assistants. I had a part-time secretary, one third-time secretary. And I had this whole new problem with being able to transport all the teams around, and it was really tough in the beginning. But I had the great support from Mr. Scott. In '85, I passed out one day in a barber's chair. My blood pressure was up. I asked for some kind of, because I was also teaching a part-time schedule on top of all this. So you imagine teaching, and then in the fall or the winter you get weather. So if you get rain or snow or whatever, and I'm teaching a class, and I'm getting phone calls, are you going to play? What are we going to do? And I'm trying to concentrate on my most important part of teaching kids. That was a lot of stress. And, I had to get a hold of the bus garage. I had to get a hold of the officials. And thank goodness we didn't have a lot of those times, but we did have it. So all that stress sort of got to me. I wanted to go about 5 more years and retire with Lou, but I just felt that they couldn't help me out. I made a decision. But then I never left Penncrest. I still coached.
Between Mr. Scott and Coach Kaufman, all of that was formed under their umbrella. The way the coaches performed, the way the kids performed. He was really kind of, the athletics program, came out of him. But again, and he's told me many times, the conversations he had with Josie or Mrs. Sheets, or the conversations with the elementary school gym teachers. It went all the way down to Mrs. Mitrione at Rose Tree. their recipe for success kind of just worked its way down to the junior high and the elementary schools. And if you weren't part of that, if you didn't buy into it, you didn't last too long here, for a good reason.
The high school, and Bill had a lot to do with this, from 78 to 88, every sport we were competitive, and we were really good. Those are fond memories.
I look out there today on the Lou Scott football field, so many memories of so many kids. And Lou Scott and I sitting up there thinking, wow, this is great. Every team I ever coached was very important in my life. But here at Penncrest, I think the 1980 basketball team, well, before that, I mean, I didn't coach them, but they were certainly part of my life, was the championship team, 1968-69 basketball team, Gene Armstead in that group, that went to the Eastern Finals. That was a special group of kids. And then in 1980, which I coached, along with Ed Dale, who was the head coach, they sort of, all the great teams always had this. I always wanted kids to like each other, appreciate the game, give all they could, and that particular team really did everything that I wanted out of a team. They loved each other. We had teams that had better players, but some of them didn't get along. And the word team means team. But they were close. Almost every one of them, that group was a leader. And they picked kids up. I remember we had one young man was having trouble. The team captain went over and spent the night with him, talked to him through his problems. And those kids still see each other to this day. So that's almost 40 years. I've seen teams that have been out since I've stopped that I think are in the same category. I was so proud of the lacrosse team when they won. I was so proud of Steve Muscani's ice hockey team when they won this championship. Made me so proud. Anytime my kids do well, I'm proud. And I watch them, follow them. Then we had a cross-country team here. I don't know what year was it? It was in the 80s. And same type of group of kids. I remember Mr. Scott and I went up to Penn State to watch them run in the state's cross-country meet. And they came in third in the states. But the team captain, I still see it to this day, took the kids. They all went up onto the top of the hill there at Penn State. They all got together, put their arms around each other. And Lou and I are sitting down. There were tears coming out of our eyes because that was what sports to me was all about, loving each other and caring about each other. And that group still have contact with each other. One of the nicest things ever happened was when my name was put in for the new gym, and there aren't many people, I think, that are still living that have a gym named after them. That's quite a thing to walk in there and you see your name up there. Makes you proud. And that was quite a night. So I've been blessed. I keep telling people that, but I really have been blessed. The Rose Tree Media family is just wonderful. And the way I see things going today makes me very happy. A lot different than when I was here. The school's different, but the basic concept, the kids and the faculty, the administration's still there. And for me, it was not a job.
He's been so prevalent throughout my whole life. And that's another huge point of him, is just how he's just there. He's always there. And he is just, he always knows the right things to say. He's always, on top of what's going on in the community, still volunteering time at the bus stop and the daycare, and he enjoys seeing kids from a young age and how they progress, and I've tried to learn from that, and I think it's a real privilege that we get being involved in these kids' lives, and I learned that from him, and you get to bear witness to great young people becoming great young men and women, and there's really nothing more rewarding, and I think it's just that longevity that he brings, not in any one moment, it's just always remembering him as a guy that is just always there for all of us and always will be as long as he's here.
If you ask me, outside of my parents and outside of my legal community, the ones I looked up to growing up, I would say Coach Kaufman has the biggest influence in my life.
When people ask me, I think I might have said this earlier, but people ask me, why are you so involved at Penncrest? Well, you got to imagine a little boy growing up here, like moved out here to Lima in 1936. Went to Lima School for 8 years, Media High School, Westchester. My whole life has been here. And then to have the superintendent of the schools keep a job open for me, how fortunate was that for me to go to a brand new school, 2 brand new schools, then be able to set the standards, what you expected from kids. And the kids did. In most cases, can't win them all, but obviously when you're in there, but I think most of them respected me, knew that I really cared about them. Well, I want to just say that I am so proud of this school district and their superintendent and the school board and how they care about what's going on. And I hope that if they take a chance to read this or listen to this, that they really have a good thing here going. And I just hope it forever, as long as I'm living and after, that they realize that the Penncrest Rose Tree is special, really special.